What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA, and yeah, you're seeing what I'm seeing. This is not an optical illusion. Somebody has actually gone through the trouble of animating a Yaira cartoon. Yaira is a comic character created in the Rippaverse, and it hasn't even dropped. The comic book hasn't even dropped yet, but there is so much hype and so much intensity and energy behind this particular property that people have already gone out and said, hey man, I'm out here, I'm gonna go ahead and make my own cartoon of it just so we can become, as they say, the culture you want to see in this little tweet. This is absolutely incredible. And when you go through and check out Twitter and all the different comments that are happening all over the place, right? You have people that are just all over this thing. The Rippaverse is absolutely taking the community by storm, and people are going to try to dismiss it, say it's not real, it's not true, nobody cares. It's like this guy says Rippaverse has no supporters, but $3.3 million. Yeah, I want to see somebody else who claims that something has no support. You go ahead and build something similar to this and you get $3.3 million in a short amount of time. You go ahead and do that and then say that, yeah, this thing has no supporters. It's absolutely insane. It's crazy because to me, like, this should be an exciting time right now for fans, for, you know, people that are creators, for everybody, because it's showing like, hey, if you have good ideas and if you can market yourself and do well, this could be you. You know, you could also clock in $3.3 million, and this is just pre-sales. If this thing is good, I mean, if this is really good, and yeah, this is mostly people supporting this movement because folks are like, hey, we're tired of the politics. We're tired of the cultural, social politics being pushed into mainstream entertainment. Hey, just entertain me. That's all I'm here for. I'm not here to read about your social issues. I'm not here to try to figure out what your political concerns are or what you think the world should look like. I just want to be entertained by the comics or by the movies or by the television shows. That's all I want. And this movement is because of that. Okay. And that's something that the folks that are against this still don't seem to understand, is that this is like truly of the people, by the people kind of thing, right? Because, you know, when you sit back and think about what the Rippaverse is, and I mean, you could just kind of scroll through here, people are already doing fan art, and, you know, they're just, you know, going hard after this thing, you know. This guy is really pushed the envelope to a different level, something I haven't seen in a long time. Again, just more and more fan art. There's just a ton of fan art. I don't know if she breakdanced it or whatever, but hey, you know, people are really into it. There goes the animation again. And yeah, it's crazy because, you know, Marvel Studios in action, and it is burning through money. And this is the stuff that people are kind of tired of. It's like, yeah, see, you can shoot Joker in the face, but it's much harder to shoot issues like homophobia or systemic racism. Nobody wants to read that, or maybe there are a handful of people that want to read that, but they are truly a handful. And I guarantee you that they're not your main audience. They're not your customer base, okay? Like the people that would gravitate to this, in a sense, nothing wrong with enjoying different types of content. I'm not saying that, but that ain't the people that built DC into what DC is, you know? Like, people that built DC into what DC is. DC became DC because they told good stories with good characters, good animation, or good artwork. That's why DC became DC, not because they did this type of stuff. Again, if you like these types of stories, you're not the audience that built DC, okay? That ain't you, all right? Maybe you like that, but you're not the person, you're not the audience that built DC into what it is. You know, you're a small fraction of that overall picture, okay? Same thing with Marvel. You're not the ones that made Marvel into what Marvel ultimately became, and those stories are not the stories. These stories are not the stories that built Marvel into what Marvel became, okay? And I think that's the disconnect that people aren't understanding, is that you have to talk to your audience. Yeah, if you want to talk about issues or whatever, but you got to talk to your audience first. And your audience isn't feeling this, okay? And when your audience isn't feeling this, me and T talk about it all the time. Customer service. Are you servicing your customers, okay? If you're not servicing your customers, hey, here comes the Rippaverse, right? Here comes this guy, and he comes in here, and he's like, bam, $3.3 million in 51 days. This is called, we weren't doing our job servicing customers, so some other dude came in here and filled that position, and now look what he's doing, $3.35 million in 51 days. That's impressive, regardless of who you are, what you're talking about, where you're from, whatever. 51 days, this dude clocks in 3.35 million. That's insane. I mean, if dude keep this pace up, he gonna be looking at like $24 million in a year off of his comic book. Him. That's bananas. That's bonkers, man. Like, come on. This was a necessity. People needed this. You know, we have the real world kind of crashing in on our doors on all sides at all times. We really just want to come to the comic books and to the movies and the television shows, etc., and just get away from all of that. And that's what the Rippaverse has promised to do. And that's really the reason that the Rippaverse has so much popularity, is because people are saying, okay, here's a guy that doesn't believe in putting that stuff in entertainment. This guy believes in, hey, we're just going to entertain you and we're not going to preach to you. Or if you want to preaching, you go to church. Church is for that. We're just going to sit here and entertain you. Are you entertained? Is that why you're in here? You know, that's what they're coming to do. And that's what this guy has promised that he's going to do. So that's why people are lock into this thing. And here's the thing about it, like the folks that keep pushing this stuff, like they're the ones that created the Rippaverse. Now I know Eric July is like the guy that created the Rippaverse, but they're the one that actually created the need for the Rippaverse. Let me put it that way, because without them constantly focusing on so much of this type of stuff, that Marvel just said, hey, we're just going to entertain people. But DC just said, hey, we're just going to entertain people. Then remember, Eric July was a DC comic, Marvel Comics fan. That's what he was. You know, I know that probably deep down he wanted to be a comic creator one day, like some point in his life or whatever. But, and I mean, without me knowing the guy, I would say like, yeah, like all of the stuff that's happened has kind of pushed him to do it sooner than later, more or less, you know. And like I said, they created the need for the Rippaverse. If it wasn't a necessity for this, guarantee you would not see this right here. 3.3 million in sales. That's necessity. That's people saying, I need this. I need something. This is important to me. I need this. That's what that 3.3 represents. It's necessity. And this here, this is like the real kick in the head, because this guy here, who I guess is an indie comic creator, I'm not sure, said that the Rippaverse is an honest to God cult. And I just laughed when I saw this, because I'm like, wait a minute. This guy doesn't seem to understand the idea behind a cult. And he's making this comment. Young Ripper was saying, oh, we are going to win. And he kind of posted that, and it's a common phrase that he's been saying: we are going to win, we are going to win, we are going to win. And who is we? The we is the fans. The win is for the fans, because fans, again, are tired of having to go back to the same old, dealing with the same old politics and cultural and social issues in their comics. They want to be entertained. They want to get away from all of that cultural nonsense. They want to get away from all the social nonsense. Hey, just entertain me. I'm just here to enjoy reading a good story, action, superheroes, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm here for. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see this crap. And yet this guy, who again is a comic creator, I guess, doesn't seem to understand that. And you look at this point here, and he says, well, it's repeating a key phrase, also known as chanting a mantra. Repeating mantras is a form of psychological ritual that reinforces belief. In the case of cults, it's also an important aid in brainwashing. So this guy's saying, yeah, Ripper has brainwashed all of you who are supporting this particular franchise, or who are supporting him as a person, or the Rippaverse, or whatever. You have been brainwashed into supporting him, and you are now a member of a cult. Now, if you're somebody that truly believes that, I'm just going to call you an idiot right now, and I'm just going to keep moving on, because that's like brain dead stupidity. But the whole point of this entire movement is that, yes, the Rippaverse came out of necessity, and it's folks like this that don't understand that this was done out of necessity. Once again, how do I know that this was a necessary move, that this was needed, that this was desirous? How do I know that the Rippaverse was born from that? You don't get $3.3 million in sales in 51 days unless people are super duper excited, if they are not feeling an absolute craving, a need. Like, I need this. This is finally, yes, give me more. That's what people are looking for. And then when you drop something and you make the promises that he has promised, to saying, hey, not going to be woke, not going to be political, we're just going to tell good stories. What more can you want, right? You know, if you're an entertainment fan, if you're someone that likes comic books, if you're someone that likes movies, television shows, and you're in that kind of genre space, you know, it's like, you know, I like sci-fi, I like some fantasy and stuff. Everything's been taken over by folks that just want to push political and social messages. They really aren't interested in entertaining you at all. You know, again, there's room and space to have those types of conversations, but people just don't want it in their entertainment. And people will say, well, entertainment's always been political. Not like this, okay? This is different. This is different. I grew up on Star Wars. I grew up on Star Trek to a certain degree. I grew up on comic books, and I don't ever remember or recall it being like this, okay? It's never been the way it is now. It's gone too far, you know? I think maybe a dash and a sprinkle here and there probably was tolerable back in the day, but now it is way beyond that. And people are pushing back, and this is what the Rippaverse is all about. People are saying, I'm done, I'm out of here, no more, please stop. And you know, Hollywood just doesn't stop. They just kept pushing agendas and messages, so on and so forth. Now, if you like your Hollywood agendas and you like your messages and everything like that, go for it. I'm not here to tell you what to watch or what not to watch. All I'm saying is this particular campaign was born out of a necessity to get away from all of that kind of stuff, you know, and that's why you see independent creators. I think independent creators right now are in a good spot because there's so much of the run-of-the-mill kind of stuff that's going on right now, not even just the political and the social commentary constantly permeating the stories, but just bad stories overall, right? Like, I don't necessarily think that Thor Love and Thunder had any kind of political, overarching political message or anything like that. I mean, there was stuff sprinkled in there, but it wasn't like hitting you over the head. It was just bad entertainment. It was just like, you know, I'm not feeling this. And that's what entertainment has become. To me, that's what the independent creators, this is why they have an opportunity, because you have to be entertaining, you have to be dynamic, you have to be engaging, you have to be unique, you have to be interesting in order to crack into these markets, right? That's just by design. You have to be more aggressive, more dynamic than the mainstream, because the mainstream is what everybody else already can get, and they can get it for free or they can get it for a low cost. You're the one that has to push the envelopes, and I think that's what you're going to start to see. More and more creative people starting to push that envelope and change the game, kind of like this guy Young Ripper did. But nevertheless, folks, give me your thoughts and your opinions in the comments below, and I want to thank you all for watching. See you next time.